Just a heads up before we get started. Viewer discretion is highly recommended. What follows is shared for educational and entertainment purposes only. These are the exact words taken from federal courtroom testimony during the trial of Sean "Diddy" Combs, as reported by Inner City Press. Millions know Ashton Kutcher as the funny prankster, the charming heartthrob, or the sharp tech investor. But on a warm spring day in a Manhattan courtroom, he wasn't there as a celebrity. He appeared as a witness in one of the most shocking celebrity cases we've seen in recent years. With Sean "Diddy" Combs now facing serious accusations, from trafficking to organized mistreatment, Kutcher, once part of Diddy's well-known Hollywood crew, found himself with no option but to testify. The courtroom fell silent. Then Ashton began to speak. What came next shocked everyone present. Kutcher wasn't simply there to separate himself from Diddy. He came forward with a revelation no one had seen coming, a jaw-dropping confession, a sense of betrayal, and a hidden truth that could shift everything. This was the moment Ashton Kutcher stepped into the role of witness. This was the day he finally spoke out. The tension in the courtroom was heavy, more intense than usual, even for a trial already filled with explosive claims. But when Ashton Kutcher was called to testify on day 9 of the case against Sean "Diddy" Combs, the mood changed. A new kind of silence took over. Kutcher didn't walk in like the Hollywood star people are used to seeing on red carpets. He entered looking like a man with nowhere to run. His tie was pulled tight, sweat dotted his forehead, and his eyes searched the room, as if hoping for an escape that wasn't there. For the first time, he wasn't in front of a camera for a movie. He was sworn in. And after weeks of rumors, the media had finally gotten what they were waiting for. Kutcher's name officially entered the case. Photos from over the years, shared investments, and wild parties with Combs had all come back into focus after Diddy's arrest. Ashton's team had been scrambling behind the scenes, trying to tidy up the timeline. But no amount of PR could undo what the prosecutors had uncovered. Kutcher's name showed up in emails, entry logs, money transfers, and most damning of all, in several video clips taken from inside Diddy's estate. "Mr. Kutcher," the prosecutor began, "do you recognize this image?" Kutcher looked at the screen for just a moment. The footage was low quality, but it was clearly him. His shirt partly unbuttoned, a drink in one hand, laughing in a darkened room. Around him were others, their faces intentionally blurred for privacy. "I do," he replied quietly after a hard swallow. "That was back in 2009, he said. "Diddy's white party." It was just the beginning, one of several key confirmations. As Ashton's testimony continued, the image he had built over the years started to crack. He spoke steadily at first, but a slight shake crept into his voice. "I was friends with him," he said of Combs. "I admired him. But there were things I witnessed, things I chose not to see." He went on to describe how the so-called New Hollywood Rat Pack came together. Diddy, Danny Masterson, Wilmer Valderrama. What started as wild parties turned into business, and then turned into something much darker. There was a shift, Kutcher said. What once felt like private gatherings slowly turned into what he described as curated experiences. And back then, he admitted, he didn't ask the right questions. When prosecutors pressed him on whether he had witnessed anything illegal, Kutcher hesitated. "I didn't understand what I was looking at the time. That's what I keep telling myself. But now, I know better." He explained that Diddy often had a separate crew managing the behind-the-scenes operations, people who would take phones, guide guests to certain rooms, and collect NDAs on the spot. Kutcher also shared that he had signed more than one NDA over the years. "I figured that was just how it worked." He recalled saying, "Everyone was doing it." But then came the tapes. The courtroom went silent as audio from a 2013 party at one of Diddy's residences played. In the background, there was music, laughter, then a clear voice. It was Ashton's. "I don't think we should be recording this," he said. He said, "Honestly, this is too much." Someone else replied, "Relax, it's all handled. They've already signed." The prosecutor then asked Ashton, "Who were you talking about?" He hesitated, glancing at Diddy, who remained expressionless at the defense table. "Guess," Ashton finally answered. "Some were models, some weren't. But they didn't really know what was going to happen." Not fully. By the end of that first part, Ashton's testimony wasn't just about Diddy, it was about silence, about a culture that rewarded those who went along and punished those who questioned. It became clear that Kutcher had once been part of the former group, but now, standing before the judge and jury, he was trying to be part of the latter. Ashton went on with his testimony into the afternoon, sharing details about the notorious years of the New Hollywood Rat Pack. "It was me, Diddy, Danny Masterson's son, and Wilmer Valderrama," he said. "We called it a new kind of brotherhood, but looking back, it was more like a machine." He shared stories that, back then, had seemed glamorous. Private jets flying to secret spots, all-night parties in mansions with no clocks or windows. But now those stories had a darker meaning. There were whole rooms at those events where only select people were allowed. Ashton said, "You had to be approved." He didn't ask who was doing the approving. The prosecutor then pushed him. Had he ever witnessed anything illegal or exploitative? Ashton let out a sharp breath. "Not with my own eyes," he said. "But I heard things, and I chose to ignore them. I brushed it off, telling myself it was just rumors." He described one event in particular, a private yacht party in 2012. Diddy brought in a group of young women. Most were models or influencers, he said. They'd all signed NDAs. "You're safe." Ashton remembered laughing, something he now regrets. He explained how the dynamic within the Rat Pack changed. Danny got darker, he said, referring to Masterson, more paranoid and controlling. Diddy and Danny were very close during that period. The court played footage from Diddy's 2009 White Party, which Kutcher co-hosted. "That was my idea," he admitted. "We were promoting charity on the surface. But behind closed doors, I think we were pushing something very different." He told the court that over time, he started keeping secrets too. "You don't make it in Hollywood without knowing when to stay silent. I was earning millions, building a brand. I couldn't risk losing it." He also explained that guests who asked too many questions were quickly uninvited. For the full prosecution story and all the shocking details, watch the next part coming up soon. Stay tuned.